Full disclaimer, if you shop for Amazon for whatever reason, whether it's where you can find the most cheapest items, whether it's the only place where you can find a certain thing, whether there's like not like a Target or like any other kind of like convenience store near you and Amazon's your only choice, I'm not calling you out and I'm not saying that you're evil because you buy from Amazon. I'm just saying that I think that Amazon is kind of evil in ways that like it treats its customers and its employees, especially since they are not paid enough, considering that their boss, Jeff Bezos, is a billionaire on his way to becoming a trillionaire based off like his evil actions and profiting largely off of the suffering of workers. And I'll get into all of that during this video. Also, it's going to be like a very long video, so get yourself a snack, water, coffee, like just get yourself something, buckle up. I'll leave like timestamps and stuff down below if you want to just kind of like scroll through your kind of main points of interest. And also, I'm not touching on like everything because otherwise this would be like 5 hours long, but if there's something specific that I've missed or something that comes up in the future, then I'll probably make another video because there's a lot and I kind of went down a rabbit hole, so enjoy. I guess where I'll start is about just like a brief history of Amazon. This article that I'm kind of paraphrasing is from the New Yorker, and it kind of just like gave like a brief-ish kind of like history about Amazon and like its like inception and where it is now. Well, now this article came out in 2014, so I'll only be like detailing the events up until then. Amazon was originally going to be called Relentless.com before changing its name to Amazon. But if you search up relentless.com, it will send you straight to Amazon's website, which is fitting considering how relentless and cutthroat the business is, which I will touch on. Trust me, there's a lot of shit. And also, before I forget, I'm not like, this isn't everyone's experience. Some people may really love working at Amazon. For example, my housemate works at Amazon. She's in something to do with data, I think. She's been there for a couple weeks and she really seems to love it. So I'm not here saying that, like, I'm not here speaking on behalf of all Amazon workers. If you work there and you enjoy your experience there, I'm glad that you have a good work experience. I truly do, because I know as a working class individual myself that some jobs can be really shitty, and it really makes a difference when you actually don't hate your job. So I'm not here saying like everything about Amazon's bad, but I just really don't like Jeff Bezos, and that's why I started researching this. Anyway, when Bezos originally founded Amazon in 1994, he started it as an online bookstore. He didn't have like a real kind of passion for books. It was just purely for maintenance purposes because the books were, to quote the article, easy to ship and hard to break, which is kind of genius in a way. Like, he saw a gap in the market and kind of went for it. Like, I will applaud him for like his business skills, but I'm not saying that he's a good person, because he's definitely not a good person. I feel like all billionaires are evil. There were also too many books for him to open his like regular kind of like brick and mortar store, kind of similar to like a Dimmicks or like a in-store bookstore or anything like that. So he started shipping out these books from a warehouse out in Oregon. I just think it's really funny how like what started off as a bookstore by this Bezos character has now turned into like him being the richest man on the planet, and to him becoming possibly the first trillionaire. I think I read that he's like, if things keep going the way they're going, then he will be a trillionaire by 2026, which is basically why I'm saying stop buying from Amazon. I don't want a trillionaire running around and controlling the universe. Like, billionaires are bad enough. And he is on his way to become a trillionaire off the backbones of working class people who aren't given adequate health insurance or medical attention or adequate medical leave. Like, who would have thought that this would happen just because some guy wanted to ship some books out from a warehouse? And I will get into the medical attention stuff. It's a lot. He actively wanted to destroy small book businesses. There was another article I came across discussing how Amazon has a price checking app that's free to download, where you can go into a bookstore and then price check it against Amazon to see if they're selling it for cheaper, which is destroying small businesses, small book businesses who like are actually passionate about books and can't afford to sell it at cheaper prices, because he like buys in bulk, like massive bulk, so then he can sell them for as cheap as possible. And then after Bezos saw how successful books were for him, he also started to sell music. And again, he wasn't passionate about music, he just wanted some extra money. Allegedly, according to this article, he once agreed to be interviewed for a program about the Beatles, and when employees prepping Bezos asked him to name a favorite Beatles song, Bezos chose the song America by Simon and Garfunkel. How much of a rock do you have to live under to not know like one single Beatles song? Soon after that, he also started to sell DVDs and other electronics. He also created the Kindle. I'm sure you guys remember the Kindle. It's kind of like an iPad but for books, and people really enjoyed them. And he created this in fear that other businesses would take over the book sale market, taking away sales from him, which is ironic because he was taking away sales from honest, small, hardworking businesses. And he priced all the books at $9.99, which put bookstores in a difficult position as people would start buying digital books from the Kindle instead of buying from bookstores, where books could be like triple the price, because you have to like factor in paying the author, the publisher, printing, making sure that like the business also gets their cut as well. So it just really put them in a hard position because they couldn't keep up with such low prices. Apparently by 2010, Amazon controlled 90% of the market in digital books, which is ridiculous. That's just insane to me that he had such a hold over the book market, even though he had no passion for books. This then changed the $9.99 model after a guy by the name of John Sargent, who was the CEO of Macmillan Publishers, flew to Seattle to meet with 4 executives from Amazon to discuss setting their own prices for ebooks in the case that Amazon would take a percentage of their sales. He told Amazon that if they refused to do this, then they would withhold digital copies of books for 7 months after hard copy publication. This then started a heated discussion, which got to the point where the vice president of the Kindle, Ross Grandinetti, had to escort Sargent out of the building. The next day, Amazon removed the buy buttons from Macmillan's print and digital titles on its site, which is petty as fuck. Amazon then received heavy criticism for this because people obviously loved books by Macmillan Publications. So they decided to put Macmillan Publications back on their website and agreed to the model that John Sargent agreed to, which ended up raising the prices of some ebooks to $14.99. One way that Amazon kind of tricks people into buying stuff really quickly is that they only have like a one-click method, which is the buy button. Like on most kind of websites, when you're buying something, you have like add to cart, and then you click on shipping, and then you like enter your details, and then you see how much shipping's gonna be, and then you pay. Like, it's a whole process in which customers have time to think about, oh, am I sure that I like really want to buy this? But with Amazon, you just click the buy button because they automatically like have like your home address, credit card details, and all that kind of stuff, which again limits like customers from thinking about whether or not it's a good idea to buy the products, because they just think, oh, here's like a cute little thing, let me just kind of buy it. And since the prices of most of the products are really cheap, it's really a no-brainer. You kind of just go, oh, it's like $2 for something, might as well get it. It's a really smart business move. Like, I'm gonna praise him for his business tactics, but it was really smart in my opinion, because then that means more sales, which means more money in Bezos's pocket. Due to Amazon's e-commerce model, which means that they only sell online. Apparently there's Amazon supermarkets and stuff in the US, but I've never seen them, so I don't really know. It's just kind of something I've heard that exists, but I've like never seen like any actual like physical evidence of it. This e-commerce model shields customers from seeing the harsh reality that goes into delivering their products. Some workers were working below minimum wage in some places. I think Amazon has raised the minimum wage since then. And due to the pressure that Bezos puts on warehouse workers who are like behind delivering products and stuff, this can cause strenuous wrist and knee injuries that occur due to repetitive motion such as lifting and bending. It makes consumers forget that actual humans are behind busting their balls so then you can get your products the next day or sometimes even the same day, which is ridiculous. I don't think we should be used to that. Think about it, like you're not the only person that's ordering a product. There's like thousands if not millions of people around the world who are also wanting to get same day delivery, but it comes at a human cost, which is that it's very impossible to keep up with these demands. Amazon usually puts their warehouses in like low income areas, and in my opinion they do this to exploit people who will take jobs at these warehouses because they are so desperate for money and are in need of a stable income, often at the expense of their physical and mental well-being. Because like if you live in a low income area, it's more likely that you have a low income and are in need of more work and more money. So you will take whatever you can get in order to survive. Amazon also has their own original content such as Amazon Books and like Amazon TV shows, which encourages consumers to buy more devices such as the Kindle and sign up to become Amazon Prime members, because like with the TV they you have to be signed up to Amazon Prime to access Amazon originals. And also some of them look really good, but I don't want to give Amazon my money. For example, I really want to watch Tales from the Loop, mainly because Tyler Barnhard, I feel like I'm pronouncing that wrong, the guy that played Charlie from 13 Reasons Why, is on it, and it's an Amazon exclusive and I don't know where else to get it. And like I said, I'm not buying from Amazon. I'm technically boycotting them, but like it doesn't really count if I've never bought anything from there. I came really close once because I wanted to buy a book that I could only find on Amazon, but luckily I guess I was like really broke at the time and barely had enough money for food, let alone a book. So I love that for myself. The revenue created through Amazon Prime signups and purchases of the Kindle puts billions into Bezos's pocket, allowing him to literally swim through his money if like he really wanted to, just fill up all his mansions with the billions that he has made, while factory workers sometimes have to rely on food stamps because they're not getting paid enough, even though their boss is a billionaire, which shouldn't exist. Like I feel like if you have the money, you should be paying your workers more than minimum wage, you know? But that's why he's a billionaire, but like no one wants to have that conversation. Apparently Bezos wants to implement a plan where he replaces factory workers with drones, which I kind of hope they do, because there have been at the very least dozens of people who have been injured while working in these factories and then have not been given adequate medical attention, which I'll get into later. His employees don't deserve to suffer both physical pain and the emotional pain that comes along with having to work because you have no other income, even though you're really badly injured. Jeff Bezos is a little bitch. Apparently when he was 10 years old, he wanted his grandmother to stop smoking, so he did some math real quick and calculated that every puff of a cigarette cost her a few minutes of her life. He told his grandmother that she's taken 9 years off of her life, and she burst into tears, which is just a great way to treat your grandmother. And this was him admitting it in interview, I think. I can't find where, but he admitted this. Which just shows he does not give a shit that he's a horrible person. Which I kind of almost respect, because at least he's being honest about it and not trying to hide it, but also like, fuck you. He now employs a similar system at his company, measuring an employee's worth by their productivity, which is stupid because your worth is not measured by your productivity. If they were deemed unproductive and therefore not worthy, Bezos would basically bully them to the point of tears. Even like fully grown men who are meant to be deemed as like tough and like, you know, not allowed to show any kind of soft emotions such as crying because society is stupid and have convinced men that showing like real emotions is wrong, which it is not. To read a direct paragraph from the article, you can work long, hard or smart, but at Amazon.com you can't choose 2 out of the 3. Bezos wrote this in a 1997 letter to shareholders when the company only sold books, but this still serves as its manifesto today. He added that when he interviewed potential hires, he warned them that it's not easy to work here, which I guess is good that he's being upfront and honest, but shouldn't be an asshole though. Another paragraph reads, of all his management notions, perhaps the most distinctive is his belief that harmony is often overvalued in the workplace, that it can stifle honest critique and encourage polite praise for flawed ideas. Instead, Amazonians, which are what Amazon employees are called, are instructed to disagree and to rip into colleagues' ideas with feedback that can be blunt to the point of painful before lining up behind a decision. Whew. Okay. Even people who used to work on Wall Street but are now Amazon workers at the South Lake Union have stated that their workload is extreme. Marathon conference calls on Easter Sunday and Thanksgiving, criticism from bosses for spotty internet access on vacation, and hours spent working at home most nights or weekends. One of the workers, Dina Vicari, I think is how I pronounce it, I'm so sorry, even states that one time she didn't sleep for 4 days straight so then the business could be more successful. And this article was also by the New York Times. The other one was the New Yorker. I don't know, I just saw New York and I'm like, they're the same, right? I've already kind of stated this, but Amazon's ruining the book industry, yay! An article written by The Guardian explains how Amazon can manipulate their bestseller rankings, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a bestseller ranking. A guy by the name of Thomas Hertog wrote a book detailing how this was possible, but Amazon removed the book from its website. Propaganda much. He explained that if you give your book a glowing 5-star review and download it yourself multiple times, the book can become a bestseller in like whatever category it falls into, like finance, young adult, fiction, whatever. He claimed to do this with his own book in 2009, a financial book titled Wealth Hazards, surpassing already established individuals such as Donald Trump, even though Hertog only sold 32 copies. And Trump even then was very well known. So the fact that a man as famous as Donald Trump was surpassed by this guy that like no one really knows, who only sold 32 copies, is ridiculous. Also, Amazon makes publishers in the UK pay 20% tax on ebook sales, even though Amazon only has to pay 3% tax, but are charging publishers 20% because capitalism. This article is also by The Guardian. One anonymous publisher refused a book deal with Amazon due to their negotiations, leaving the publisher with only 80 pence per £10 book sale. Like, that's fucked. That's like not even 10%. This means that a publisher signing up with Amazon would have to agree at a starting price of £8.33 for an ebook retailing at $10, the digital price list to reflect the 20% VAT value added tax any UK-based ebook retailer would have to pay. But if it were based on the true 3% rate paid by Amazon, then that starting price would be £9.71, meaning that the publisher is already giving the retailer online a £1.38 discount before it agrees to a wholesale discount, which can run as high as 90%. Typically, however, Amazon seeks a discount of up to 65% on ebooks, including the value-added tax charge. During 2012, The Guardian revealed that Amazon generated sales of more than 3.3 billion via UK websites last year, but paid no corporation tax on any of the profits from that income. Who would have thought a business where the CEO is a billionaire doesn't pay tax? Completely unheard of. This article was written in 2012, by the way, so take it how you will. I couldn't find any updated info on this information. From 2010 till 2012, Amazon generated sales of more than 7.6 billion in the UK without attracting any corporation tax on the profits of these sales. Amazon also blocks users from using their Amazon account if they return too many items. They have the ability to block users from their Amazon accounts after returning like a certain percentage of products they've bought from the website. I think it's something like 10%. Like basically all the information I found for this article was by like a massive document by this man called Stallman. I'll link it down below. It's a really interesting read through. Like if you have like a few hours to spare, I'd recommend going through it. There's like heaps of articles in there, which most of them I'm using. The Guardian then further explains that if your account is blocked but you have already paid for an annual Amazon Prime membership, your money will have been wasted because you won't be able to access your account even if you have like 11 months left on your Prime membership. Also, you won't be able to use any Amazon gift cards that you may have been given. This article was written 4 years ago by The Guardian, but there were still cases from 2 years ago where customers were banned from using Amazon, sometimes without any warning as well. I've already touched on this before, but some Amazon workers in the US are so underpaid that they rely on food stamps to survive. Apparently 1 out of 10 Amazon workers from Ohio, 1 out of 9 workers in Pennsylvania, and 1 out of 3 workers in Arizona rely on food stamps, which again is ridiculous that you're working for the richest man on the planet but still need food stamps when you're working full-time. That shouldn't be a thing that exists. Now to the real meaty, juicy part of the video. The treatment of warehouse workers and a little bit on delivery drivers too. There's a lot. Buckle in. An undercover BBC reporter showed that Amazon delivery drivers were expected to deliver 200 packages a day, causing them to work long hours and break speed limits so then they could deliver these products. And although we as consumers love receiving next day delivery or sometimes same day delivery, you know, it's just nice to click buy and then get your products like sometimes as little as like 20 minutes later. There's a human cost to these demands, which a lot of people don't see because again it's e-commerce, so people don't see these workers suffering. A warehouse worker by the name of Michelle Quinones started to develop severe carpal tunnel to the point where she required surgery. The severity of her carpal tunnel has occurred after she had gone to the AMCAL clinic 10 times with concerns. The AMCAL clinic is basically medical tent outside Amazon. I think that's what that is. So she was sent to the clinic 10 times. Every time she went, she was sent straight back to work. Every single time. Her health insurance didn't authorize her to get surgery until over a year of her raising concerns about her condition after a long battle in court. At the time, Jeff Bezos was worth $100 billion. So surely he could afford to give his workers a measly couple $1,000s for their medical bills, right? Although Quinones' doctor advised her not to go to work, Amazon demanded that she return to her original job as a warehouse picker. She was not given an alternate task that would have made it easier on her carpal tunnel, even though she was clearly struggling. She was only given a different task after an entire year of her diagnosis. This not only has happened in the warehouses, delivery driving jobs, and other low-paying positions at Amazon, there was also a case regarding a HR executive by the name of Ashley who had a high-paying job within Amazon. He suffered from a fracture in his spine during a business trip. He was denied from being able to work from home and to receive short-term disability benefits. After a few months after this incident, he quit his job because he believed it would be easier to pay for his medication rather than to keep fighting Amazon to grant him leave. Tragically, 2 months later after this, he suffered from a heart attack and died, which is led to be caused by the stress that Amazon put him under. This is according to the lawyer who is representing Ashley's family against the lawsuit against Amazon. So this is not me saying this, in my opinion, that's just what I read. The first 3 articles are by The Guardian. I've read like so many fucking Guardian articles, oh my god. Warehouse workers are constantly watched by cameras. They have handheld devices attached to their wrists that track their every movement in order to reach daily targets. Workers are sometimes like reduced to peeing in bottles in order to keep their productivity up, because like they're hardly granted like bathroom breaks, which is stupid. The same is given to delivery drivers who have to reach extremely high and impossible targets, so this forces them to drive unsafely. Some even defecate in bags which they keep in their vans in order to keep up with these demands, and so then it saves them time as well. Drivers have also complained about not being paid overtime, so then they can reach these demands. Again, if you're a billionaire, come on. This also exists in Amazon HQ, where like, you know, the people earning a lot of money are given impossible demands as well. It's not just people at the bottom of the food chain. Workers are expected to be reachable by email at all times, to the point where one employee spent her entire vacation in a Starbucks so she could deal with the high demand of emails that she was given. Another worker was told that she was a problem after taking time off work to look after her dying father. She was also blocked from looking for less demanding jobs, so she wasn't even allowed to leave Amazon to get a less stressful job, so then she could try and balance work life with looking after her father who was dying. Like, fuck you, Amazon. There is another article, again by The Guardian. This next bit I got wrong when I was recording it, so I'm just gonna redo it now. Sorry if that's annoying, but that's life. So I'm just gonna kind of paraphrase a paragraph within this article by The Guardian that I'm referencing. Says that the GMB added that 4/5 of 200 union members working for an Amazon warehouse responded to a survey saying that they had suffered pain as a result of their workload. So it's not good that 4 out of 5 people within this survey had experienced some type of pain from working in these warehouses. That's obviously not good, and something needs to be done about it. Including a pregnant woman who had been forced to stand during an entire 10-hour shift. Another woman suffered a miscarriage, which is led to be partially caused by the stress of trying to hit impossible performance targets, working 10-hour days without being given a fucking chair, having to constantly bend and stretch, pull heavy trolleys while also walking for miles every single day, which should not be the case if you're pregnant. Like, you're meant to kind of take it easy. Of course, Amazon doesn't give a shit about that because she'll be considered a problem if she asks to be treated like a fucking human being. If Amazon workers, especially in warehouses, suffer workplace injuries, they are often led to their own devices, causing them to become homeless, unable to work, or lose their income. A warehouse worker by the name of Vicky Shannon Allen injured her back while working at a workstation that was missing a brush guard, which is like a piece of safety equipment that is used to prevent products from falling on the floor. She had to use a tow tray instead, causing her to work in an awkward position, and she hurt her back in the process. For a few weeks after her injury, she would be sent home every day because she couldn't keep up with the heavy workload due to the injury. She applied for workers' compensation and was given 3 months paid leave so she could attend physical therapy. When she returned to work, she injured herself again on the same workstation, which was still not fixed. Like, after something like this happens, you'd think you would take time out to fix that workstation so then this shit doesn't happen again, right? But obviously Amazon doesn't give a shit about its employees. She went back on medical leave and took 2 weeks of unpaid leave because she couldn't afford to drive to and from work. She lived like 30 miles away from the station. I watched all her YouTube videos and she said that like she had like an old car which would like suck up a lot of gas, so like all her money basically went to like traveling to and from work because it would just suck up a lot of gas. She had an MRI scan that showed that her back was still injured, but 5 days afterwards. She claims that the Amazon workers' compensation insurer by the name of Sedgwick had told the company doctor to drop her as a client. It took the company 8 months to replace the brush guard that had caused Ellen so much physical and emotional pain. Amazon then offered her a buyout of a measly $3,500, in which she also had to sign a non-disclosure agreement to not talk about her negative experiences with Amazon, but she declined because she's a queen. This article was written in July 2018, and during this time, Ellen was sleeping in her car, which was parked at the Amazon fulfillment center, and she was there for like, I think a year. She also described how she would often go days without eating because she couldn't afford it. This is not an isolated incident. This has happened to dozens of people. And if you want to watch her videos in which she discusses this, I'll link her channel down below because it's like really heartbreaking to see that someone who worked for the richest man had ended up being homeless. And there are other cases where people have gone homeless due to how they were treated after they were injured while working for Amazon. Yeah, like I said, this is not an isolated incident. A 43-year-old man by the name of Brian Hill was fired after he injured his back at work. He alleged that management didn't write up a workers' compensation claim after his injury. He was told that he was too young to have back problems. Hi, I'm 21. I have back problems. I'm half his age and I have back problems. Not because of work, by the way, just because I have a really shitty back. Thanks, genes. Not like genes, but like parents and stuff. So yeah, he was told he was too young to have back problems, which is bullshit. Anyone of any age can have back problems. And he was fired before Amazon Human Resources would authorize a doctor's visit. Another employee by the name of Christina Miano Wilburn, I feel like I pronounced that wrong, I'm really sorry, was fired after 5 weeks of getting injured on the job. To read a direct quote from Christina, "I was on a ladder and someone came flying into the area I was in, hit the ladder, causing me to fall. I landed on my back and left leg. Her back is now permanently injured due to the incident. She was meant to be given 26 weeks of short-term disability leave, but was only given 5 weeks. She was then fired after receiving a letter in the mail after working for the company for 2 years. Other workers have also quit due to the working conditions. A warehouse worker by the name of Lindsay Florence Johnson was taken away in an ambulance while working on a hot day. She explained how she felt like her superiors thought she was faking her conditions of dizziness and dehydration. I mean, if you're working in a warehouse, I mean, you know, warehouses are usually kind of like metal kind of hellholes. There's usually no like air conditioning or shit in there, so that makes it really hard to keep hydrated, especially when you can't take like drinks breaks or anything like that because of your impossible targets that you're trying to reach. Another case of this was an Amazon worker that was hired through a temp agency also complained of mistreatment. A man by the name of Michael Yevtuk explains how he injured both his knees while continuously squatting and climbing down up and down a stepladder so he could reach his targets. The Amazon company doctor told him to get back to work on light duty after his injuries. He handed the supervisors his doctor's note that corroborated his injuries, but he was told to return to work as usual. He then re-injured both of his knees. He went to a private doctor to take an MRI, which noted that he had torn the meniscus in his left knee. Amazon refused to pay the medical fees or accept a workers' comp filing. Again, fuck you, Amazon. It is also revealed that the intense working conditions at Amazon have caused an increased risk of physical and mental illness. An undercover reporter by the name of Adam Littler reported that while he worked at the Amazon warehouses, he was expected to pick items every 33 seconds on average These warehouses are massive as well, so workers would sometimes literally have to run from place to place in order to reach these targets. During a 10.5-hour shift, Littler had walked over 10 miles and had said that his feet were the main thing that was bothering him. I've walked less than 10 miles during work shifts, and after work, like, my feet would literally kill me. Like, I'd get home and it would like pain me to have to like walk up the stairs, and if I'd have to walk back down the stairs in order to make myself food, that was the worst. And I'd probably only ever walked like equivalent of like 7 miles at most, so I definitely feel his pain. He was paid £6.50 during regular hours, which is below minimum wage at this time, but then rose to £8.25 during overnight shifts. This article was written in 2013, so hopefully they've changed things since then. Experts have claimed that these 10.5-hour shifts are actually breaking work time violations due to the long hours and strenuous work. A direct quote from Barrister Giles Bedlow states that if the work involves heavy physical and/or mental strain, then that night worker should not work more than 8 hours in a 24-hour period, which is why like 9-to-5 jobs exist, because you can't do like 12-hour shifts or 10-hour shifts in this case under that much physical and emotional strain. Like at my current job, the most hours I've ever worked is like 6 or 7, and like after that I'm like wiped, like physically and emotionally. So I can only imagine how these people feel, and my job's like not as strenuous in comparison to this. Some employees suffer from conditions such as musculoskeletal problems, work-related stress, and anxiety due to the harsh working conditions. The New York Times wrote a 5,400-word expose of the working conditions in Amazon, where over 100 former and current workers detailed their experiences there. One worker in particular was sent on a business trip one day after she had a miscarriage. 2 workers who both had cancer, one had breast cancer and the other had thyroid cancer, were allegedly put on a performance improvement plan. When the worker with thyroid cancer returned to work, they were given a low performance score and were told that Amazon was more productive without her. This one technically doesn't really have anything to do with Amazon itself, but I thought I would include it anyway because I think they were like a subcontractor. There were allegations that the warehouses in Germany hired security guards with neo-Nazi connections to intimidate foreign workers. There was a documentary that allegedly showed that the neo-Nazi security guards were hired to keep order at the hostels and budget hotels that foreign workers were staying at, to scare and intimidate them. There was photographic evidence to show that these workers would search the workers' rooms and kitchens. They were also allegedly frisked to make sure they didn't walk away with food or anything like that. Another worker by the name of Maria was kicked out of the cramped house she was staying at with 5 other people because she had dried her wet clothes on a wall heater. Like, what the fuck? A tattooed, muscular security guard told her to leave and allegedly shone his car headlights into the house while she packed in an attempt to intimidate her. Several guards were shown wearing Thor Steiner clothing, a Berlin-based designer brand synonymous with the far right in Germany. The Bundesliga Football Association and the federal parliament have both banned the label because of its neo-Nazi associations. Ironically, Amazon stopped selling the clothing for the same reasons in 2009, and they were hired as subcontractors. The guards had uniforms with Hess security written on it, which the German TV channel ADR suggested could be a connection with Hitler's deputy, Rudolf Hess. It alleged that its director was a man named only as Uwe, L, like U-W-E, and then L, who associated with football hooligans and convinced neo-Nazis who were known to police. Program makers who booked in at one of the budget hotels where Amazon staff were housed said that they were arrested by Hess security guards after being caught with cameras. They were ordered to hand over their film, and when they refused, were held for nearly an hour before police arrived and freed them. The film showed Hess guards scuffling with the camera crew and trying to cover the lenses. Although these guards weren't hired by Amazon directly, it still doesn't look good for them, and also adds to the bad workplace environment experienced in UK and US warehouses, which I have spoken about. I know that there are also cases in Australia, but again, I didn't want to go down a massive rabbit hole because this video would be so fucking long. Oh yeah, also Amazon doesn't pay tax, which I feel is a given for billionaires and multi-million-dollar corporations, which is why they're billionaires and millionaires. Meanwhile, working class citizens like me have to pay tax. And the final section is kind of the most recent one, treatment of workers during COVID. This article that I'm reading now was written at the end of March. So this was right when kind of COVID was kind of hitting its peak. Amazon had not put in adequate precautions to protect workers from COVID-19. Representative Ilhan Omar and Bernie Sanders, we all know Bernie Sanders, the king, had written a letter to Jeff Bezos asking him to provide workers with personal protective equipment to protect them from the virus, demanding paid sick leave for all employees, childcare benefits, hazard pay, and facility shutdowns if a worker tests positive for coronavirus. Amazon shut down a fulfillment center in Queens in New York after a worker had tested positive for COVID-19. But then reopened the following afternoon because they had done additional sanitations. No, like, that needs longer. The fast-paced environment at Amazon leaves very little time for employees to wash their hands, which is probably one of the most important things you can do to prevent the virus from spreading. Also, wearing a mask helps, and some of you motherfuckers don't know how to wear a mask. If I see one more person wearing their mask, like, just on their chin strap, like, I would stand like 2 meters away from you because I don't like confrontation. During this time, access to face masks was scarce, but it didn't seem like Amazon workers were taking any other precautions in place of this, because like everyone was like, oh shit, where do I find a mask? And like even doctors and shit couldn't get masks. Like they were encouraged to reuse their old masks because there like weren't any masks available. But yeah, it didn't seem like they were really trying to do anything else. Also during this time, online deliveries were higher than average because people were in lockdown, so more people were staying at home and not going out to shop for items, so they were shopping online at places especially like Amazon because they have everything. An Amazon worker by the name of Chris Smalls, who led a strike in New York demanding protective gear and hazard pay, was fired. Sorry that he doesn't want to catch the disease but still has to work because he can't work in a warehouse from home. He was an assistant manager at one of the warehouses and had worked with the company for over 5 years. Amazon alleges that they let Chris go because he had worked with an employee who was infected and was asked to stay home. According to Amazon, the infected co-worker in question last reported for work on the 11th of March. Had Smalls been exposed that day, a 14-day mandatory quarantine would have made him eligible to return as soon as the 25th of March. Chris was not sent home until the 28th of March, which is more than 2 weeks after this worker had been exposed. He states that no one else was sent home and that they all worked alongside the infected worker during 10-hour shifts. So I don't know what game you're trying to play, Amazon, but you ain't slick. You ain't shit, mate. Basically, moral of the story, fuck Jeff Bezos and fuck Amazon. Yeah, this is a long one. I've been talking for over an hour and I'm kind of tired. Again, if you shop at Amazon for whatever reason, I don't think you're evil because you aren't underpaying workers and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you just want to get some shit for cheap, which I completely get. So yeah, you're not a bad person for shopping at Amazon. If you can find alternatives, I would highly recommend it, but if you can't, then that's completely fine. I just wanted to kind of give my 2 cents and to let people know where their money's going when they're shopping at Amazon and like the human cost behind your payments at Amazon and all that kind of stuff. And also fuck billionaires. Take care of yourselves and have a really great day, guys. Bye.